phone. Do I even have that? I have no idea.
Actually, I should give
George.
myself two
George.
microphones.
What?
Guys, we're live.
I know.
Oh.
I saw
Hide!
the corner blink.
All right, here we go. This is Acceptable Vices for Friday, May 29th, 2015. Tonight, convention-going tips. Hey everyone, this is Victor Frost with Acceptable Vices. Here on the show tonight, we have George. Hey, George.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How about you?
Not too bad.
Great. And of course, our perennial guests from the land down under. Hey, Chirpa.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you know that we hold the record for the shortest political career ever?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Try and guess how long.
2 weeks.
Nope.
A day.
Nope. You're both way too long.
Wait,
25 minutes.
10 minits. 10 minutes.
You're still way too long. The answer is
What?
46 seconds.
What?
Hey, you need to explain.
Did somebody get elected and then shot, or?
No, an ex-footballer announced that he was entering the world of politics and running for a particular seat, but 46 seconds into his speech, after he announced who he was, what he was doing, and where he was going for officially, he stumbled over his words, just went, I fucked it, I quit, and then stood up from his own press conference and walked off, never to return.
That's just kind of beautiful right there. I like that. That's good.
That's pretty magical.
That's about as magical as it gets. So tonight we are going to be discussing tips for people out there who are going to conventions, things they can do, can keep in mind, and general good practices and things to make their convention-going experience not only good for them, but to keep them out of the way of the banhammer of convention staff.
Being
Yes.
convention staff, I am good at telling you what will get you a banhammer.
Yes, indeed.
So I've never actually listened to Acceptable Vices. Are we actually giving real advice, or are we supposed to give very silly advice?
Really?
Well,
Face.
9 times out of 10, the serious advice has a habit of being also very silly. But we're it's
Okay.
it's good. Good advice.
Okay.
You went
Okay.
French there for a minute, Victor. Oui, oui.
Wee. Yeah. But yeah, no, serious advice, because, we like to help our listeners. As entertainers, we act in service of the audience. So.
Insofar as anyone can, because I think if you're listening to this show, you're probably a little bit beyond help.
Well, we can't ever say we don't know our audience. Yeah.
Victor's got a good radio laugh.
Do I? What?
A little bit. You've got a firm but reasonable kind of laugh that you do when we're doing the show.
Yeah, this is true. So let's get on it. So let's get on to the advice. So I think the very first thing we can advise to anybody who's looking to go to a convention and looking to have a good time is to read the goddamn code of conduct.
Yeah, seriously.
You really don't need to. You just need to not be an asshole.
Well, no, I mean to guarantee.
To guarantee it,
that-
but really, if you actually read it, it boils down to one thing. Don't be an asshole.
Right,
Don't be
but so
sexist.
many people
Don't be racist.
Apparently.
It's just hey, should I fucking fire up my billy in the middle of the fucking show floor? No, you shouldn't have a billy in the middle of the show floor. Leave your weed at home.
You would think this would be obvious. We actually had to fire a member of Kineticon staff for bringing weed into their hotel room.
Oh God.
It's just what?
Well, that just goes to show you that common sense is not common, which is why the code of conduct is an excellent foundation that's sort of put down.
Common sense, ironically named.
Definitely do not go to a convention while you are taking any hallucinogenics because, yeah, convention is not a good place for
a bad time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, outside of all the costumes and stuff, a convention's with all the people around and all the noise, it's a den for overstimulation.
Yeah, it's noisy, it's busy, it's all sorts of people run around in all sorts of weird costumes, and man, it's not a good time. Not a safe space for you to have a fucking trip in.
No, it's not going to end well.
Yeah, I mean, the code of conduct, reading that provides you with a basic understanding of the expectations that are between you and the staff prior to any interactions with them. So, you know, if it says, hey, if you have any weapons of any sort, you know, fake or otherwise, go get it peace bonded, it'll probably say where to get it peace bonded. So.
Another story from Connecticut. We once had a quote bomb scare because someone in their cosplay had a bandolier of bullets that were real bullets. They didn't have a gun. But they were wearing real bullets because I don't know. I just love that they called it a bomb scare.
It was a bullet scare.
It was a thing that really can't do anything very dangerous scare.
Yeah. But at the same time, you know, bringing live ammunition with you to a convention is
super bad idea.
It's a bad idea, yeah.
I mean, yes.
Because hell, if anybody is in there with a real gun and somebody calls the police in there, who are they going to look for?
Oh, God help us if the police get called for like a firearm anything at a convention. That would not go well.
No.
That would.
Yes. Also keep in mind you want to obey local weapon laws too.
Yeah.
This is especially an issue at Australian conventions because a lot of Australian cities do not take very kindly to you walking around the streets with a gun, no matter how fake, or like a giant sword, no matter how fake. So you have to be real careful about these things. Poster tubes and other packaging are your friend.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get this weird idea that just because they're in a hotel or, you know, and the more delusional version of this is that they think that, oh wow, what conventions? It's so much, you know, everything is okay at a convention. You know, it's like a completely different world, and yeah, maybe it's really freaking weird because conventions are weird, but you're still within the real world here. You still have to abide by, you know, local law enforcement and, you know, laws and bylaws and all the different jurisdictions and shit. You don't want to mess around.
Yeah. Word of advice: if you're walking around outside of a convention or even in the convention and the police yell, "Drop your weapon," drop whatever you're holding. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's a freaking iced tea, drop it. Good advice.
Also, with regards to law enforcement and cosplay, pretty much every convention I've been to has this rule. But if you're going to cosplay as a member of law enforcement, do not cosplay as a member of the local law enforcement.
No.
Or any
they can't possibly be
law enforcement. Oh, you would think, and yet. that all rules are there for a reason. George has just head desked.
George has left the building.
Things that shouldn't surprise me anymore, and yet.
Speaking of, here's something that always it shouldn't surprise me because I've seen it happen so many times, but people passed out in the corridors at conventions because they forgot to eat.
Do not do this. Fucking eat.
I've never seen that, ever.
Really?
I mean, I suppose it's possible I've seen that. I've just never attributed them passed out in the corridors due to lack of food. I think it was more overstimulation, and it's the middle of the day Saturday, and you've been going since Friday morning, you crazy bastard. Of course you need to sleep.
Well, George, I have to ask, have you ever passed out from like just not eating
No.
during a convention?
No.
I
get very nasty if I do not eat every 4 hours. So
See, I will absolutely cop to this. The very first time I went to a big convention, it was Anime Expo, I think in like 2009. I absolutely just forgot to eat, and I ended up just taking a nap in a hallway. And that is how I learned that is a thing that can happen.
that is literally something I do not understand.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you get so excited,
I'm
going from one
fascinated
event
by this concept of being too busy with anything to notice I'm hungry. I can't do it.
Seriously, you've never gone?
No, I seriously, hunger is a overriding urge to basically anything else that's going on in my life. It's like
Really?
Yeah, after 4 hours, it becomes an increasing just like, you must eat or you will kill somebody.
I just had a mental image of George just plowing away on top of some bird, and she looks away and then looks back, and he's still there plowing away, except now he's suddenly got a burger in one hand.
That's never happened. Never.
He keeps emergency burgers behind the headboard. If you ever get peckish in the middle of the night, just reach over.
That would be odd, especially considering our headboard is just some poles.
So a good way to get around, to make sure that you are, and this covers, I've come up with a rule over the course of the years to deal with this, and a good way to, and this includes hygiene as well, but the 621 rule. So the rule is, every day you're going to a convention, get at least 6 hours of sleep, 2 full meals, and I mean like actual meals, not like an emergency package of Pop-Tarts, and 1 shower a day. If you can hit that minimum, you will never have to worry about making it through the day. And not only that, but you will also not have convention funk.
Which is really, really a problem. Jesus Christ.
I don't know why that's such a problem.
Like,
I feel like next convention I go to, I'm going to do what Rim and Scott suggested and hand out bars of soap.
What I don't get is why it seems to be...
Victor, you remember when we talked about the code of conduct?
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole.
Yeah. But
make sure it's nice soap.
Yeah.
Let's hand out bars of Dove. Not Lever 2000. That's just me.
How about Ivory Springs or Irish Springs? That's what it is. Irish Springs.
I'm not a fan of that.
Imperial lather. But
Yeah.
no,
It's
seriously.
so sad how big of a problem hygiene is at conventions.
The weird thing is, though, it only seems to be geek conventions. Like,
Yeah.
you go to Brisbane Auto Show, it's like fucking 40 degrees outside, everyone is sweating balls, and somehow, no fucking convention funk. It is not a
Yeah.
solid wall of stank that hits you when you walk into the show floor.
Oh.
I've worked
Oh.
at conventions where, in the same kind of heat, where there's tradesmen performing their actual trades, welding, brickies, there's bloody sheet metal working, there's everything there.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah,
no
but are
fucking
those-
mad stank. Geek conventions, so thick you can cut it with a fucking knife and just chuck it in the fridge and serve it as cheesecake.
I know. It's like
here's
you
the
go to-
difference.
okay, so same convention center, right? The LA Convention Center. I go to the LA Auto Show. The only smell that hits me is the smell of tires and beautiful cars. Because freshly
yes,
cleaned
you
and
got
wrapped cars
that
do
beautiful
smell.
car smell is just.
And the
That
occasional jalopnik rider. They don't smell of BO, they mostly just smell of desperation.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
You just
you go
really
to
got the one that
the,
crashed the Camaro.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, I did tell them about how when I was much younger, I was about 16 or so, maybe 17, and I didn't have the cash to get into the Brisbane Auto Show, so I pretended to the security guards, like I just went and grabbed my DSLR and just fucking pretended to the security guards to be one of the staff at Jalopnik for a last-minute entry. They let me in for free on a press badge. I went to a couple of appointments and like did a couple of photo sessions with cars. I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But apparently, I must have done it right because I got invited back next year.
How did you manage that?
Oh,
I don't
guile.
know.
my friend. Guile.
Like I just acted like what I thought a professional would act like, and I think that got me through because it must have closely resembled what an actual professional acts like.
No, you were just like, man,
It's
he's
the
the
same
most
way- look.
professional journalist we've ever seen.
George, it's the same mentality that lets you into like backstage at concerts or into secured construction areas for really expensive new buildings. It's that same sort of confidence.
Ugh.
But,
But I have
points
actually
important.
told the Jalopnik staff about this, and at least one of them thought it was pretty fucking funny.
But yeah, same convention center as the LA Auto Show is Anime Expo, and there are days because Anime Expo takes place in the depths of July, well, the beginning of July, so it's reasonably warm out. I'm not going to say hot in front of an Australian because he'll
Fucking
just
right,
laugh.
you're not, because I'll make fun of you. So,
But it's just the smell. I'm so glad I get in with an industry badge because then I don't have to wait in the stanky ass line, full of stank.
wait, would you say that the LA Convention Center is uptown?
No, it's actually decidedly downtown. But good try.
Okay.
I
Because
know.
then we'd get to say that it was an uptown funk.
It's uptown funk, yeah.
We got the funk.
They got the funk.
Yes. Also, as a corollary to that, dress appropriately for the conditions. I understand if you're cosplaying, that may not be quite possible. Okay, yeah, sure, if you're cosplaying Korra, one of the costumes she wears, insofar as an animated character can wear, is like a fucking winter coat. Fair enough. But try to wear her more summertime stuff when it's summertime.
I watched this poor girl, it's PAX East 2012 or 13, I forget which one was the last one I went to. but it is 20 degrees outside. The wind is howling in Boston, and this poor girl is walking from the hotel to the con in nothing but a bikini and some angel wings.
Jeez.
And she was the most miserable, and the color of her skin by the time she got there, it's like, that's not right.
That's a paxicle.
It was not good. She really shouldn't have done that.
Maybe she was cosplaying one of those blue dudes from Avatar, and she's just a real big method actor.
That's commitment.
Or a dark elf or something.
Yeah, no, I did get to see a couple of people like that at the first PAX Ost, because it was much deeper in the middle of the Melbourne winter, and it was some rotten weather. It was about, like, maybe the mercury sitting on anywhere between 0 degrees and 2 degrees.
Oh, that's perfectly acceptable in
like,
Boston. That's a nice day.
And then fucking that plus wind chill, and there's people walking around in like kind of skimpy costumes. There's some dudes walking around in like Doug Ratman costumes where it's just like a white button down and a lab coat. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, guys.
Yeah, the last PAX I went to was in your fancy science degrees, -5 to -10 with wind all the time. Because we're sitting right on the bay, because that's where PAX is. So it was just
brutal.
It was it was brutal. I was in a full jacket, hats, gloves, and I was uncomfortable.
I will tell you one thing that would have made PAX Australia that first year worse. 90% of everything, like lines and moving around and everything like that, all outside. The only time you got to go inside was basically Expo Hall and panel rooms and tabletop. That's it. Everything else outside.
You know, as a part of dressing appropriately, in addition to not wearing too little when it's going to be too cold, part of that is when you're doing cosplay, be considerate about the size of your cosplay. People come into conventions with like gigantic costumes, and they cause congestion in the hallways and constantly bumping into people. And be
when I'm trying to see people in panels that are full, you take up more than one chair because you're playing Sephiroth and you had to have the freaking shoulders. I hate you.
Or you're walking around in a giant mecha suit, which, don't get me wrong, I absolutely respect that big-ass mecha suit. But you're also blocking the flow through the hallways.
And
I will tell you one thing, though.
Please don't put your props down in the aisles. It's a fire hazard. For the love of God, no.
I would contend, though, that I am personally okay with if you stand blocking a fire exit. Simply because, as has been pointed out by many others, if you're standing in front of a fire exit and a fire breaks out, then you're not blocking the fire exit. You're just going to be the first one out of it.
I never yell at people for standing in front of fire exits. I yell at them for sitting in front of fire exits. Because when you sit in front of a fire exit, you're the first one that gets trampled. So...
if you're going to be in front of a fire exit, to quote Houston from Payday 2, get the fuck up.
Speaking of panel rooms, do not stress the schedule, people. Don't. If you're planning your convention experience with like military precision, I got news for you guys. It's not gonna work.
Actually,
you haven't been to Kineticon yet.
This is true.
The one panel that you can always plan to be late at PAX Australia is the film, especially on that first night. Every single time, it ends up with someone running like a mad thing from one end of the convention to the other after spending a half hour trying to find the media and bring it over to the SAT theater room.
Oh, there's one thing I want to, for proper attire, wear walking shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, and no bare feet.
No,
Doesn't
yeah,
matter if your costume requires it. No
bare feet is just a terrible idea. It's either gonna be like, one, there's so many things to step on just in the convention, let alone outside. Two, if you're walking around in the dead of summer, sidewalk's gonna be fucking hot. Or if it's winter, it's gonna be fucking cold, and your feet are very, very far from your core. They're the first thing that are gonna get frostbit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to get none of them chilblains.
But yeah, it's like, I understand, okay, your character wears stilettos. It's really a bad idea. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Stilettos and escalators are not friends.
Maybe you should just.
Stilettos and more than 2 hours on your feet, not friends.
Modify your costume so that the character's wearing UGG boots.
Yes.
Or Crocs.
Perfect. Crocs.
No,
Crocs are a good option.
Crocs are terrible in cold weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wear
But I
Crocs
hear
with
they're actually
socks.
super comfortable.
They are.
general.
They just look like anus.
I go with sneakers, and
They're ugly as
actually, I have a fitness tracker for the first time. I'm looking forward to seeing how many miles I walk at Kineticon this year. I think I'm going to break 100.
I think the
Nice.
key is to wear shoes that are well broken in and comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when I go to conventions, I wear the same shoes I wear every day. This is the kind of shoe I wear. It's basically a I wouldn't call it a dress shoe. I would say it's kind of
It's a
like
loafer.
it's a business shoe. It's a business loafer. That's what it is. And I wear these every day, and I just wear these to conventions because they're super comfortable and broken in.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
realized
that's the
I was about to reach over and grab my boots that I normally wear, but they're actually over in the laundry because they got soaked in the last rainstorm, so I'll have to go and get them at some point. Oh well.
Chirba, you have unexpectedly brought up another very important thing. Hydration.
Yes.
There are water fountains. Use them.
And even if you don't want to drink from a water fountain, the key is to drink like 2 to 3 liters of fluids a day, but not all at once. You drink them when you're thirsty and on a regular basis. Like set a timer on your phone or something to remind you to drink.
I don't need to be reminded to drink.
Yeah, but see, this falls under the same category of people who forget to eat.
Oh, you mean water?
Yeah.
You sure we shouldn't just let nature take its course here?
No, because you know what letting nature take its course results in? It results in people fainting in people being passing out in hallways, taking up room in the hallways, and people having stupid convention funk because they don't take showers every day at a convention because they're morons.
And worst of all, it results in paperwork if someone dies.
Oh, the paperwork.
You know what's the really sad thing? I do a panel at conventions, how to survive your first convention. And legitimately, every time I do it, like at least 10 or 15 people stop me somewhere in the convention hall and say, "Gee, Victor, thanks so much for this information. I never would have thought of it." And yet this just feels so obvious.
I think if I was scattling what? I think if I was scheduling panels for a show and you submitted that panel, I would probably just for laughs put it as like one of the last panels of the last day.
How to survive your first convention, a retrospective.
This is what you should have been doing. Actually, that'd be interesting. I wonder, you'd have to do it over a number of conventions, but I wonder what would happen if just observing the general condition of the convention, having a panel like that at the start, the middle, and the end of a convention, just to see how things change.
You need like one of those FBI air chemical sensors to measure the level of otaku funk.
I think it'd fucking detonate.
Oh, man. You know what?
Actually, here's a tip for you for companies that are sending staff to conventions.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Prepare your staff for awkward questions. Especially about your product and your company. Like, for example, one of the questions that was getting asked of the World of Tanks guys quite a bit was, how come you are spending money on dragging a literal fucking tank to the middle of the convention floor, and yet you say you don't have enough money to justify Australian servers? That was a question they got asked a lot at both of the PAXs. They're like, why are you even bothering doing this when you can't serve your customers properly? And none of the staff had an answer for this. They're just like, we're planning on it, until finally one member of staff was high enough up the chain that they're like, okay, we hear you. We're going to put it forward and talk about this and try and get it done. They didn't actually do it, but it was at least something that mollified people a bit.
Yeah, a little bit of lip service. Also, if you're sending staff to conventions for your product, make sure, I mean, especially if it's a product that reaches out to a broad audience. Say, for example, headphones, right? Say you're Turtle Beach, and you're sending your people out there to represent your headphones, and you appeal not just to gamers, but as regular headphones. Make sure you send the representatives that are actually gamers, so they can answer questions about compatibility.
Or perhaps send the engineers who could answer questions about compatibility.
Even if you have to dial up the weird Unix Santa that you keep in the basement and fucking shave him and toss him on a plane and send him out somewhere. Fucking, if he's the guy who knows shit about your product, fucking do it.
You can't shave him. He'll lose his seniority. That's how Unix guys establish their hierarchy, is by the size of their beard.
It's how they reproduce rubbing beards together. when a mummy beard and a daddy beard get very fond of each other, they rub together and.
Sure, but no.
9 months later, you get a baby Unix Santa. It's like a baby with a fucking beard.
So a garden gnome?
Yeah. Garden gnomes are actually Unix Santas that have become so old that they have fucking shrunk and fossilized.
What I have just Googled is baby with beard, and you guys should too.
I think I will, in fact.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Oh, here's another important tip. Leave your fucking politics and bullshit at home.
Oh, yes. No,
Don't do any of that bullshit unless it's actually relevant to what's happening at the convention. Say there is a feminist panel. Go to that. Ask feminist questions. Talk to people. Great. When it's done, you don't go and, bother people with it. If you like Gamergate and there's a Gamergate panel, same gig. With the people who are there for that, sure, hang out, chat, do your thing. Don't bother other people with it. Apply to any political...
If you're a men's right activist, don't go to the feminist panel.
No, do. Just,
Do go.
learn.
I think that's a bad plan.
Well,
No. I disagree. There was a bunch of Gamergate people who went to the feminist panels at the last PAX, at PAX Australia, and they went, they sat down, they listened, they asked a couple of intelligent questions that weren't just fucking bait. They were actually genuinely asking questions like for clarification and such. And then they walked out and they, acted like perfectly normal people.
Way.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it right. Just when you thought you'd never hear Gamergate is how you do it right. But these couple of guys did it the right way. They were polite, respectful, and wanted to learn. Yeah, they acted like human beings. No matter your politics, act like a fucking human being and you'll be okay.
You know what? When you're at a convention and you're doing something, if it's something that is, that is beyond like normal, I'm going to enter an elevator, I'm going to, just beyond the mechanics of moving from point A to point B, if it's something that's a little out of the usual for you, I think the question you should ask yourself is, am I acting the way Mr. Rogers knew I could be?
That doesn't actually work on people who aren't American.
Am I not fine? Am I not being an asshole? Is what I'm doing possible to construe as being an ass? It's a good thing.
I think the answer to that is everything I do. When am I not being an asshole?
Well, hopefully a bulk of the time.
It's usually when he's enjoying his traditional. It's when he's enjoying his traditional American post-coital burger and shake. That's why smoking's gone down so far in America, and obesity's gone up so far.
It's because we're not smoking. We don't have the nicotine to boost our metabolism anymore.
Mad Men wasn't a story about advertising, but about the health benefits of smoking. That's why everyone is so thin.
Actually, Mad Men, stealth car guy show. There were so many amazing cars in that fucking show.
Never watched it, but I kept on seeing screenshots like, ooh, car.
I've seen a couple episodes that my girlfriend was watching, and I've yet to see a car.
If I remember correctly, one of the companies that they were advertising for was even a car company. So.
All right, so let's see if we can't wrap this up. Let's say one more piece of advice from each of us. Just
George, go.
George, go.
Go what? Do not garner the ire of the convention staff. They can make your life miserable.
Our wrath is mighty.
I think that can be just summarized as listen to the convention staff.
Yeah. They're going to give you instructions that is basically going to help you get what you want and will make them happy if you follow said instructions. If you do not follow said instructions, they will be angry and you will have a bad time.
Also, things that are good for you is try and help them out where you can if they make suggestions. Like, for example, I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but say the panel's a bit late and someone says, hey, if you've got a 3DS, whip it out. You can play with people in the line. People are going to be starting games, things like that. If you've got a 3DS, just fucking whip it out and, start a game so that other people can join on, help out, help entertain the people around you. They're there to have fun, just like you. So, try and help have fun with them, not in spite of them.
I'm going to take that entire quote and just remove the word 3DS from it. And that's going in a blooper reel.
Feel free, I'll make it my fucking ringtone.
Whip it out, entertain everyone.
I may or may not have been almost that desperate to entertain people when a panel was late once.
Oh.
Hey kids, you want to see the elephant trick?
Very related.
Did roll up my arms.
Very related to what Churba's advice was. If you are a panelist, if you have submitted a panel to a convention, if you have put the convention through the trouble of scheduling your panel, and you have committed to that panel, you had better goddamn show up to that panel. to do it. I never staffed. Well, that's not true. I only ever staffed one convention, but I've never been part of the programming department staff for a convention. I've never extensively staffed a convention. Most of the time I do panels, and it just galled me when I heard from convention staff that, oh yeah, the previous panel didn't show up. I'm like, what? That's a thing that happens?
That is very, very rare at Kineticon. Mostly because Kristen Benedict, the head of panels, has systematically killed everyone who didn't show up.
The more important you are to a panel as well, the more important you show up on fucking time.
Yeah. In fact, don't just show up on time. Come early.
Yes. I must stress this. Come early, especially if you are doing a PowerPoint or in some way need to connect to our projectors, because there is going to be a problem. There is always a problem. Show up early, we can help you. If you show up right when your panel starts and you can't get your projector to work, well, that sucks, dude, and it's not our fault. When we say in our instruction guides, if you need something other than a VGA cable to connect to a projector, bring it with you. We mean there's only VGA cables. If you need something else, you have to bring it with you.
So many Mac PowerBooks.
Yes, so many people with Macs come and go, I had a panelist give me lip one time because I didn't have the connector for her MacBook. And I told her, it's like, well, we only have VGA. It's like, well, why don't you have Mac things? I mean, they're just the best laptop there is. It's like, because you didn't read the manual that we sent you that told you we only had VGA. So, good luck. Have fun. She was not pleased with that answer, but I was not having any more of it.
I'm still stuck on the part where George said, come early if you've got a PowerPoint. I'm just imagining some dude like, if you got a PowerPoint, just shot. But anyway, yeah, I remember...
I was wondering what you were laughing at.
There was a panel where a friend of the show, Rim from Geek Nights, actually had to step in and cover a spot on someone else's panel as the fucking moderator of a debate sort of thing. Because the guy who was the linchpin to the whole panel just didn't fucking bother to show up. Everyone else did, just not that one guy.
It comes down to professionalism. If you are offering to fill a spot in a convention's program, yes, to some extent you are doing them a service in filling up, their programming schedule. But on the same token, they didn't have to choose you.
Oh, you guys want to
be professional about it.
You want to know another thing about professionalism? This is a staff fail. So I think 3 years ago now, I think it was, we started Kineticon, and people kept coming up to the panel table and asking when the Doug Walker panel was. And we kept going, who's Doug Walker?
Do
you guys know who Doug Walker is?
Yeah, I do.
No,
it's the Nostalgia Critic.
Yes, the Nostalgia Critic.
Oh, that guy.
Apparently, he was very well known. We had no idea who he was. We put him in this little dinky panel room. Oh, it was such a fiasco. Now he gets main events. It's a pretty fun deal. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, that was such a, because we had people lining up. We had it handled, and then the convention head came down and said, "You can't have all these people lined up for a panel that's not starting for 2 hours." I had a line of 200 people. It was a 200-seat room. They made me get rid of them all And then they're just milling about, and then we had a line, and there were 400 people in this line, and I was like, oh, it was bad. It was bad.
You should just start a riot.
Let's start a riot!
Here's the thing. Also, don't bother, unless it's something you absolutely, like, in your heart of hearts you need to see. Don't bother with any panel or event that has a 2-hour or hour-long line. Just don't.
Like one of Victor's panels, you would go to one of those. They're always empty.
I would disagree with that because, 2 hours...
I fill rooms, you bastard.
Well, that's the thing is, Doug Walker, awesome presenter. He is a guy who, like, whatever room we give, like, I think he gets main events now. It's just, the biggest room in the con. It's a massive auditorium, and he'll get a lot of. I think he'll like half fill that. He gets a lot of people in there, and everybody loves it. He puts on a great show for people. So I mean, some of these things are worth meeting. We had lines for like every Doctor Who panel. We filled every room that was like a Doctor Who anything, and everyone had a great time. The 18+ panels are always really popular, and we kind of despise them because they make our lives miserable. But
hey, I got an 18+ panel at Kineticon.
What?
Yeah.
I hate you. Anyways.
It's about My Little Pony porn.
No.
Certainly you understand.
See, no. See, this one's about monster girl porn.
What?
This one's about monster girl porn.
Close enough.
Okay.
George, go see the. It's academic. There's
I'm probably
not
going to
even
be
a
off
titty
shift
flash.
at that point. I will hopefully be in bed by that.
If you are a Kineticon staff person, ensure George is staffing for that panel.
For that room, yeah. It's called Monster Girl Quest, the lecture. All right, well, I think that's enough sage advice from us. So thanks, George, for coming on the show, Churba, as always. No. Thank you. Oh, what's up?
I have one more tip. Before you go and ask not panel staff, fucking convention staff, hey, what panels should I see? We don't know either, okay, because we know what time they're on, but most of the time we haven't been to them yet because they haven't happened. So we don't know how good they're going to be. Here's a better idea. If you're wondering what panels to go to, pick a selection of 3 panels. One you know nothing about, one that directly contradicts what you know, one that you really like. Between those 3, at basically any hour of the day when there's panels on, there will be something on for you to go and see.
Mm-hmm.
So do it. Go learn something. Go watch shit.
I have 2 last things.
Go and watch
2
the
last
films,
things from
because they're
George.
usually fun.
Okay.
2 last things from George. Go ahead.
If you're trying to be a panelist, and by all means be a panelist, it's fun.
Oh, it's so
You
fun.
must condense the title of whatever you're doing to 5 words. That is all that will appear in the block on the schedule, and that is what you have to hook people with. 5 words. Come up with it.
Okay, so I've got one panel at Kineticon that's the title's gonna get truncated.
I mean, it might if it's a bigger, I'd say 5 words is a good bar.
Yeah.
Maybe you can try 6, 7's pushing.
The point is to give the gist.
The last thing, and this is the last panel of the con, is con feedback. If you do not like something about the con, or think something could be done differently, or if you really like something about the con and you just want to tell everybody that it was totally awesome, come to this panel, tell us your piece. Whatever it is, I have a list, a Google document from last year's con feedback where we actually took down everything that everybody said. And we actually implemented some of those things this year that seemed reasonable. So
absolutely true.
Yeah.
Because basically, if you don't do that and people from the convention see you bitching about it online like 2 days later, they're just going to assume that you're a bit of a knob.
Well, actually, when we did actually go through the Facebook comments and copy those down as best we could too.
Your opinions do matter.
They really do. Like most of these
Not an
conventions are fan-run conventions. They're staffed almost entirely by volunteers. Like people want to put on a good convention. It's a weird drive. If you haven't staffed it, you don't quite understand it. But you basically break your back for a whole weekend, and at the end, you're very proud of what you've done.
And even the professional conventions like PAX and Comic-Con and things like that, these people are fucking professionals. They want to make more money by having you come back and having you bring more people. They're probably going to listen to you if your suggestion is not batshit insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even PAX it's staffed mostly by volunteers.
Yeah. Well, most conventions are simply to keep costs down. I mean, can you imagine trying to get like 400 fucking paid employees for a 3-day weekend like that?
400 actual bouncers?
Probably more, because, you know, I think half the reason that conventions can get away with having as little staff as they often do, even when it's in the hundreds, is because people will often just put in the extra mile because they're volunteering for something they like.
Oh yeah.
Paid staff
volunteering changes the whole motivation scheme. In some ways, volunteers are better than paid employees because paid employees, you know, all they care about is the punch in, the punch out. In a lot of cases, especially for like, you know, if someone paid me to be like a door guy at Anime Expo, I really wouldn't care about it too much.
That's actually a sort of slight advice is if you have a problem like during the convention, find one of the convention, like the actual like Kineticon staffer, one of the volunteers. Don't go to the convention center staff because they don't care. They really don't.
You should specifically find George. He's a tall guy, no hair.
No hair. No, seriously, if you're at
this.
Kineticon this year and something's not going well, you can find me at the panel ops table. And
yeah, if you make the sound, somehow
walking from
generate
one
the
end of the
sound
con to the
of
other,
V8.
you'll see me. It happens.
Yes,
if you can somehow generate the sound of a V8, just look for the man whose head whips around and shows a reflection.
That's
what
true.
You need to do
oh
is
man, I hope there's some Mad
like
Max
this
panels this year.
in the side of the V8. Scream, "Witness me, George."
I think this is it, guys. I think this is the hand sign for this group. I think this is it.
Yeah, the sign of the V8. Throw it up.
I didn't even notice them do it. Now that you've pointed that out, I'm like, oh wow, that's totally the thing they did.
8 fingers, 8 cylinders.
I saw that movie twice. I didn't notice that.
All right. Well, that's it then. George, we're gonna cut you loose. There's just a little bit of news that me and Churb are just gonna take care of. But thanks for being on the show tonight, George.
Wait, there is.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye, George.
So, with George gone, just a little bit of news we need to cover. You may have noticed.
Tell me shit about this.
Huh?
I don't know about this. I don't know what's happening now.
No, you know about this. You just don't know I'm bringing it up. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. So you may have noticed that we've been having a little bit of website trouble this past week. Just wanted to let you guys know that all is well. If you're hearing this, you are in no way affected by it, but just, you know, if you go onto the website to check the show notes, whatever, you may have noticed that the site was down for a little while, but everything is okay now. Everything is going to be okay. Just, you know, as our listeners, just thought I'd keep you up to date.
And you can always reach us through the Facebook. We do pay attention to it. We will respond to just about everything.
Yep.
Though
you can either tweet me.
That may be by deleting your comment, but
respond is a very general term.
Yes.
Yeah, you can always reach us on the. Yeah, it does. You can reach us on the Facebook page. You can tweet at either of us directly. For me, it's at SonicDH. For Churba, I think it's at Churba.
Yep, pretty much everywhere you encounter someone called Churba online and they're not speaking Spanish, it's probably me. If they are speaking Spanish, they're probably from Argentina. I don't know why this is. I get mail from Argentina, like, on the reg. It's always about something I have no idea about. One time I got photos sent to me of the inside of a control room of a nuclear reactor.
That's...
yeah, they meant to send it to, like, the Minister of Culture or something like that because he went on a tour, but to me it was just, like, a bunch of photos of a nuclear control room that had an old guy in a suit and a couple of workers. But, thankfully, these people are mostly very understanding when I send back in English, accompanied by some broken Spanish, that, hey, I don't think I'm the guy you're looking for.
Yeah,
I'm from Australia, not Argentina. I love your country, but I don't know what the fuck you're on about.
Yeah.
You might be looking... I actually have a list of other people who have Churba in their name who they are probably trying to reach. Like Martin Churba, the photographer.
Yellow pages?
Yeah, there's like a photographer, there's a fashion designer and a furniture designer, and there's a couple of government officials who have it in their names.
I think you need to make the Churba Club.
Oh, and there is also one guy who isn't called Churba, but his first name starts with a C, his last name is Urba, and or something to that description that gets abbreviated to URBA. And his email at his job has like a fucking dot in between his first initial and the abbreviation and or his last name. So whenever someone leaves out the dot, I keep getting business emails in Spanish.
But yeah, that's what I just wanted to let you guys know about. We're back to full capacity. Although just while some technical things shake down, the website is acceptablevices.com. Even though FridayNightPartyline.com will still work, we're still shaking some stuff down. But that's about it.
Shaking Fade down for the domain registry.
Yeah, he needs to transfer that to me, and he hasn't yet.
It's okay. The brother's got a lot on his plate doing what he does.
Yeah.
So.
I guess he's doing some pretty important stuff. I don't know if he wants me to say the particular job he's doing, but he's doing some pretty busy and important stuff. So all the power to you, man.
He has mentioned before he is a legal professional, so he does do important law stuff quite a bit.
But he's gotten a bit of an upgrade as of late, or so I'm told. So,
yes.
But that is neither here nor there. But just rest assured, listeners, that all is well, and we were only off the air for maybe like a half hour, and then
all two of you who ever visit the website.
You know what? The numbers have been pretty weird. You gotta go take a look at those stats sometime. They're pretty fucking mental how many people come to the site. Even after you filter out all the bots.
I actually do have quite an enjoyable time. From time to time, I'll just go into the spam filter on our comments on the WordPress backend and just read through them, because some of them are the most wonderful, poetic word salad nonsense you've ever seen. One of these days, we'll start up for a show idea. Your motherfuckers are going to have to put up dramatic spam readings.
Yep, just dramatic readings of the spam bots. Alrighty then. Well, thanks, Churba, for getting up and being in its. You guys don't know this. Maybe you haven't figured it out. But poor Churba, he does the show on Saturday mornings. Poor guy.
I miss my fucking cartoons for you people. Actually, no, it's just that often I'm up very late with work, and it is a bit of a pain to get up quite early in the morning sometimes.
Yeah. We luck out here in the United States with time zones when it comes to the production. Nelson is always hanging on for dinner, even though he's like 3 hours ahead of me. He's having dinner the same time I have dinner. The man needs some.
I can't tell if he eats late or early.
He eats late. He eats late. He eats like at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
Actually, that's not too bad. That's when I like to eat dinner, when I'm on that sort of a time frame. So
yeah. Alrighty then. Well, that's it for the show, and we will. You'll hear from us. Give Trevor a break from an aneurysm this week. You'll hear from us. You'll hear from us next week on Friday Night Party Line. See you guys.
God help you all.